member, Mike Bopp. So I have that a second on the agenda, but I thought it would be appropriate to first introduce Mike. So Mike, on the phone with us, we've got Chris Kaiser, who's the head of IT for the town, myself, Bob Mantella, who's involved, works for the town on many different things, including our database and contacts for residents. We'll talk about that. Paul Perica and Anna Marie, who are so Paul, Anna Marie, Mike Abbott, Mike Bopp, and myself are the members of the committee. But so Mike Bopp, it would be great if you don't mind, just thank you for agreeing. Oh, and Kevin Moynihan's on. Sorry, Kevin, you were in the middle, and I went all the way around you. You were like Alice in the Brady Bunch, went all the way around the circle and forgot about the center. So Kevin Moynihan's on as well. But yeah, Mike, if you wouldn't mind, just we're thrilled to have you. Thank you for agreeing to join the committee. If you don't mind, just give a brief intro to the team.
Sure. Yeah, no problem at all. And thank you very much, Kevin, for considering me and for everybody. Yeah, sure. Mike Bopp. I've been in New Canaan for a little over 15 years. Grew up in Westchester County in Pelham, so I know the area pretty well. My wife and I have lived in New Canaan for 15 years, been married for 23, moved from Westchester up to Stanford and then eventually to New Canaan. Have 3 kids, sophomore in college at Holy Cross, who happens to be in my attic for the rest of the semester, given Holy Cross isn't at home. And then 2 boys, a junior and a freshman, Christopher and Luke, both at the high school. So I've raised the kids in New Canaan for about those 15 years. Currently work at Synchrony, which is a financial services company headquartered in Stanford, right off Long Ridge Road. I've been with Synchrony for about 2.5 years. My current role there is Chief Customer Engagement Officer. I really oversee 3 things there. First is our customer engagement strategy. We are a consumer credit card company that has about 90 million customers in the United States. So I oversee the customer experience side. I oversee all data analytics, so all of our decision sciences organization, our offshore analytics and reporting teams. And then the third part is the data office. I own the data strategy for the company. The chief data officer reports in through me. So really everything around data and then how to use that data in order to make better business decisions. I've been at that gig for about 25 years, pretty much my whole career. In fact, I was with GE Capital, which Synchrony spun out of in the 2000s, and that's where I met and knew Mike Abbott very well. I was in Mike's organization for several years, running different parts of his organization when he was the chief marketing officer. I ran much of his analytic organization when he was chief marketing officer, when it was then GE Capital reporting, GE Capital Consumer Finance reporting into the big behemoth of GE Capital that no longer exists. Started my career at Citibank and then did about 6 years at Citibank, 5 years at Citi, and then I did about 7 years at a company called Argus, which is a consumer finance consulting company that was a consultant to credit card companies. The last role I had there before coming over to Synchrony was their president and chief operating officer. So a ton of background in data, a ton of background in consumer privacy. The organization for a small amount of time at Synchrony reported into me. So I was responsible for all of the compliance initiatives related to the CCPA, related to all HIPAA reporting requirements and privacy requirements as well. So good background in data, good background in privacy concerns, technology, and really with the sort of that consumer experience wing as well.
Well, welcome aboard, Mike.
Thank you.
Your time with Citibank will not be held against you. I'll tell you that.
Well, I was out of there. I was there from 97 to 03, so I haven't been there for a long time.
But Mike, yeah, your experience is, as you see, we get into, especially the topics we're talking about today, but obviously going forward, your background's going to be, or your current experience is going to be tremendously helpful and insightful. So we really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, actually one more thing that might be relevant here is I'm also leading the return to office strategy for Synchrony. And so as we get into any of those types of dynamics or questions around technology, I might be able to be helpful there as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. That could be tremendously helpful. Okay, well, thanks, Mike. Thanks for the intro. We'll get into our two key areas that we're talking about, which is first is the outcall system, the new Everbridge that we've launched, and then talking about our consolidated resident database. So both of those, Mike, I think you would have some good insight as well. But let's first, just from a housekeeping thing standpoint, is just review the minutes from last meeting. I know it was Paul, Anna Marie, and myself were the members there. So do I have a motion to?
Motion to approve. This is Anna Marie.
And it's Jeff. I'll second the motion. All in favor?
I guess I can check in the minutes I wrote.
Yeah. All right. So we've unanimously approved the minutes. I know Mike, Bob, you weren't there, so won't ask you. Okay, so we've gone through the housekeeping items. The key item we want to chat about, or at least the first one, is around Everbridge. Would love to hear from Kevin and from Chris is how it's gone. I know we're now on the new system, but just a little bit of background on how the Everbridge is working and the transition over from the old system. Chris, do you want to start, or Kevin? I'll let you guys.
I think the chief operating head of the household should go first.
So, we had a hard cutover because we had an end of contract with the prior vendor, and I forget what it was, August 14th or 15th, and didn't help when our customer service rep was on vacation that last week, but from Everbridge. But we made it successful. The way we're using it right now, I'm literally using it usually once a week. Then we had the storm, which actually, was the storm under the old system, Chris?
Nope. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Right. Then we went to Everbridge for the rollout after that. Yes.
So anyway, the good news is that it works. It's got a lot of capabilities. We've had a couple training sessions in the past couple weeks. And so the various users, I'm a user with our Emergency Operations Center, and our CERT team is a user, our police department is a user, our public works department is a user, our HR department is a user. So everybody has to learn how to use the system. It has great capabilities. It's more modern in many ways than the other vendor was, although the other vendor was a pretty major factor in the market. And so I'm very pleased. I think, we still have a data problem because the town of Fairfield switched over to a new platform and made everybody re-enroll from the bottom up, which I don't know why they had to do that. Actually, I do know. I guess Code Red considers they own the data. I can't imagine signing up with a company, having all your citizens sign up with a product, and then when you end the contract, they say we own the data. But that's apparently what happened. And so anyway, we converted over from the old platform to the new platform. I don't know how many were there, 16,000 records. But the problem with the old platform, people had primarily signed up for phone calls, and there were only 3,000 email addresses. So we supplemented that with our constant contact file, which is about 7,000 email addresses for various residents who communicate with us by email for various purposes, like the recreation department or Lapham Center, or the tax department send reminders by email to pay your taxes and that type of thing. So we had about 7,000 plus the legacy population. But then we also, courtesy of the superintendent, had about 4,700 records for parents for the school children. And so we loaded all that up, and we're able to communicate out. We still can't differentiate, though, which people really have phone only, and try to get them to convert over to email. Because the great thing about Everbridge, it allows you to choose how you want to be contacted. And it has a priority so that if it sends you an email and you confirm it, they don't follow up with the phone call. If you're only on there for a phone call, you get the phone call. So I don't think you guys had given us some suggestions about how to do the sort of marketing and rollout of the product. We really didn't do much of that other than putting all the data in. We're able to communicate. the CERT people know how to use their piece, HR knows how to use their piece, but we really didn't do enough yet. We still have to go back and try to work more with the residents to tell them how to use the product to their best advantage. So Chris, do you want to take it from there?
Yeah. Like Kevin said, the marketing is going to be the biggest part. We knew that coming into it. You know, we had to do a hard cutover. We needed to get out of the contract with the company prior to. I think it's actually going pretty well for not really marketing it as much as we will do. It looks like we have about 2,599 portal signups. We can tell that because we can run a report depending on if anybody was in the system prior to them logging in and adding the data that we're kind of asking to add to now. The old system was comprised of a couple of different things that we found out. One, it was that they had a list of people that they just imported into the system that lived in New Canaan. And if they had a name and a number, they went in. We also found out that some people went in there without a name and number and just a first name or a last name. So there was a lot of dirty data. So we tried our best to clean that up as best as possible, and that's where we came up with the 16,000 in there. We do have duplications. The possibility of someone logging in and signing up twice with the same email address, phone number, and home address is kind of likely. They're kind of allowed to do it, depending on if they do it through the app. They can only do it 3 different ways: through the app, through the portal, or we do it. So if we make it and set it to the portal, then it's not. As Kevin stated, the idea is, though, if Mike Bopp just signs up and then his wife goes in but uses the same credentials, the same email, whatnot, and they both get out there, and someone picks the order and how they want to receive the notification, it will not send it to both contacts. It knows that there's 2 of the same people, same address, same email, exactly how they want it, and it'll dedupe that. So it's only going to send it to the one time. The priority next for us, Monday, Tuesday, early next week, is to extract the list again back out to see who is duplicated in there, who went in as the portal, which is the data we want, because when you sign in now, it asks you for your address, an email address for communications, and first name, last name. It does not ask you for a text because some people don't like to give out their private text, but you can apply that as well. But it does ask for your email and your home address. And we need the home address for the geo-targeting. And Kevin, we're trying to build Kevin's list of household per email address. So that's why we asked him. That's a mandatory field as well. So hopefully by early next week, we'll have that list pulled out, extracted. We'll be able to sort by different ways, see exactly what the 16,800 are, if and who matches with it, and the ones that we can clean out and get a true list, and then pit it against the lists that Bob's been working on as well.
Let me ask you guys.
When the initial email went out, it looked and felt like a scam a little bit, and there was several posts on New Canaan Moms Facebook page where like, did you get this email? What does it mean? Should I sign up? Looks like a scam. A lot of people said I wouldn't sign up, and like it's something. So I think that's because of the lack of marketing, and you have to like do the hard cut. So I'm just saying this happened. I mean, I was on those groups, and I was trying to inform people, yes, sign up, it's okay, but it's sort of like came from out of the blue, and also a sign up. I think it said something like New Canaan or New Canaan IT department or something, so it didn't look like it came from a verified source.
Yeah, we had already resolved all that afterward, obviously, but we got a lot of emails on that. Is to your point, is this bogus or is this real? We've gone through the system, cleaned it all up, and we've done the best we can to make sure that it doesn't go out that way again. When they built it, that's the email that they put on. We had really no control until we started to ask, why is this out there, and why is it coming from there? Because we had never sent one before.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think if anything, we should have tried to have a testing period. We didn't have enough, and the storm didn't help us because literally lost a week. And so as the date approached, we should have had a longer period to do testing before we went out there. But what was your experience in terms of have you been getting your phone calls, your emails, and what is your observation of the differentiation between the prior vendor and what you're getting now?
Me personally,
Yeah.
I get all the emails and phone calls, and they still come to my phone and our home phone. But I was the one who signed up, so I'm not entirely sure if my husband's cell phone is getting those.
For me, it was fine. I signed up. I signed up with my personal and work phone number, cell number. I got both, so I said, okay, no, I don't want that because I'm getting 2 phone calls at the same time. But that's more of how I set it up. So I just need to go in and adjust it. But no, it seemed fine. I went in, set up my profile. Everything, seemed to work just fine. And from a receiving of the phone calls, couldn't tell the difference, obviously. Yeah, it seemed fairly seamless. Paul, how about you?
Signed up and emails work just fine. I don't get it by phone. I don't want it by phone.
Yeah.
But the emails work just fine. It's good to have gotten close to a hurricane to start to test some of the uses of this. The first thing that came to mind when you said you used it for the first time that month is I wondered if you had tried the geofencing, because for storms, that's going to become something we're going to want to use a lot.
Agreed. Agreed.
Sign-ups seem to be just fine.
Yeah. Hey, Mike, I don't know if you've had a chance to go in to the
Yeah,
system.
it was seamless for us. So I have my cell, home phone, and my wife's email. It was seamless. There was no problem at all. We use Everbridge at Synchrony for our sort of command center. And there's a couple of features I think it has, and we like it. It works very well. There's a couple of features it has, particularly around if you're going to send out a first-time email marketing type stuff. Marketing message is, I believe it has the ability to just, choose 10 users. It could be us, for example, and send out the note that you're going to send out. Then we read it sort of as users and see if it makes sense, see if it feels right, see if it has the right messaging in the right order. And then we can modify it, and then it goes out to everybody. So there's like this test group optionality, I think that it has, because I know our CISO uses it in that way. He'll send an email to just the executive leadership team and say, this is what's going to go out to everybody in an hour. Do you have any feedback? Should we adjust it? So that might be something to think about on the marketing side of this thing. Make sure that we as consumers of it feel good about the message before sending it out broadly.
I'm kind of surprised that my Merrill Lynch training didn't kick in, because at Merrill Lynch, we never sent something out unless it had been tested. We had, a number of people had been exposed to it. So, but we were under the gun, and we were all, and the storm didn't help. But, so it's out there. One annoying feature is that Verizon and Optimum, both when the messages come up as suspected spam, and Everbridge says you can't fix that because it's their product, and they're the ones that, which is frustrating. I don't know why there can't be some way that they can work with Verizon and Optimum to say, just regard this number as not spam. So isn't that, Chris, what they're saying? They can't fix it?
Right. When it leaves the switching, it's actually a call coming out of Massachusetts, not on our number, and it's masked as our phone number. So they all have this issue. Blackboard had it so bad that Comcast email would not work whatsoever. We had to try to fix that and whitelist that for probably 3 or 4 months.
The trouble is these Verizon and Optimum services are new, to try to help people block spam, and they're really overactive.
Yeah, and the fix they really want you to do is to just have the 4100 and the 3000 in your contact list, and then it works perfect. So, yeah.
Mike, just to give you a little background, our universe is relatively small. We have 20,000 residents, 5,000 are kids, so we really have 15,000. 3,000 are seniors over 65, and then you have basically 11,000 or so parents of school kids. So we have 6,800 residences that we really want to make sure we're communicating with. So my frustration right now, we've tried to develop a master database just for the town employees to be able to go to. You got a resident who's got a problem. you can go to and you want their contact information, just a basic, kind of a telephone book, because, these days, people are not having landlines. So, so to try to find contact information is a challenge. But we've got a lot of contact, just by virtue of the fact that a lot of people communicate with us, and we grab this data, but we still haven't been able to go back and match it with the addresses to say, okay, of the 6,800 residences, we're shy of 600 that we don't have contact. I'm not even sure, I don't even know what the number is. I don't know whether 600 or 300 or so.
Yeah.
That's still our challenge to be able
Yeah. And it sounds like Chris, we have tried to dedupe those lists and we've had some success.
Yeah, oh yeah, the lists are well over 25, 30,000 contacts, and that's all because there were multiples, 4 or 5 in there at a clip. The challenge now is to take what's in the system, pull it out, then go through it again, because all right now, almost 3,000 people have signed up via the portal in 3 weeks.
I was going to ask you, what's the number of people that have actually actively gone in?
Yeah,
That's
it's
3,000.
right at 3,000, 25.99.
And we haven't had people unsubscribe, have we?
We've had a handful. We've had upwards of maybe 15.
Okay, which is not awful.
No,
Yeah,
and they were most likely brought over from the other system that weren't really getting it any longer, or they were just ignoring it, and now they saw it in a different format. And now we're getting, hey, please. We have not had since Friday, once you sent the last one out, we had one person. So we're still down to the nitty gritty with removal, but
Yeah, my only thought is, maybe we could take it offline. We refer to this in I don't know, everyone calls it something different, but we call it entity resolution. Where if we have a credit card customer who has 7 credit cards with us, they often might have 3 addresses and 4 cell phone numbers and 7 email addresses. And so we actually run algorithms that resolve the entity, and the more information that you have, the easier it is. So let's say you don't get a match on address, but you might get a match on text, on cell phone. You don't get a match on cell phone, you might get a match on home phone. So there are certain algorithms that you can run, that we run on our customer base of the 90 million, for example, to understand we have 200 million credit cards of 90 million customers. And so we resolve the entity. And the way to do that is to get as much information as possible. So in any interaction you have, you want to gather as much information as possible. So even if we don't use text, even if we don't use cell number or anything today, if we ask for it as much as possible, that could be a linking key beyond the linking key that we have with a regular landline or an address or a last name, something like that.
Right.
yeah, that's exactly what we're looking at doing next week. The problem is with the text, we can't gather enough data because they won't give it to us. We can't.
They won't give it to you.
Say I make you tell me, give me a text, and you don't have one, or you don't want to give me one, you can't log in. You can't sign up. So everybody's agreed to say yes to their email and yes to their home address, first name, last name. So that's where Kevin's database starts from. Now we offer them any other way they want. There's 9 other options, as you've seen. We just can't force them, because if they say no, then they don't opt in.
Right. Yeah.
So I know Bob's been working on the email project. Let's just hold there, because I think there's not email, I say email, but I mean like database project. So I've got that on agenda. Let's hold and go on that. But I think that Bob's made some good progress there, or at least started down that path. So let's hold for that. Back on Everbridge, one personal thing, and Mike, you might experience it well, or anyone else, is because we use it at Everbridge at MasterCard as well. I have the app, but it's signed to my MasterCard account. So I realized personally I can't use Everbridge, the app. It won't allow me to sign up 2 different situations, but that's okay. I don't need to use the app because I just sign up on the website. But one of the things we talked about, and Anna Marie, I know you were involved, was from a design, any graphics. Are we just curious from you, any progress in that direction, or what? Just, you can give us an update.
Well, I actually didn't get any specs of or any information from, so I don't know what is possible. I've since started a new job. So, but however, I can still do the design. I'm happy to help, making more aesthetically pleasing, but I need to just know the specs of what is possible.
Chris, can you help?
I sent that out to you. I sent you 6 examples. I sent Jeff. I sent them to you as well. If they didn't get to you, I didn't get any response back that they didn't get to you. I'd be more than happy to forward those on again. But I did that almost 3-4 weeks.
Oh, okay.
before.
Yeah. But those were the actual platforms.
I even sent what they sent me to you because
Okay.
I didn't. You were the one that you explained what you were looking for, so that's what I explained to them.
Yeah. I got those, but I thought the sign-in form was the one. I still don't know what is what.
The sign up is on their end. All we can do is put our banner up there.
Okay. Well,
So-
that's the thing. You know,
Yeah.
if I get the size of the banner, I'll design it.
Okay.
Well, I mean, because there's not much you can do. I mean,
Right.
Yeah, we looked at a handful of other customers of Everbridge, and we picked one that we liked best, and then Sal made it look as much like our website style as he could.
Mhm.
Fortunately, we haven't any complaints about that yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, ideally, you'd like to brand it similarly, but you can't. I mean,
Chris, can you bring up the Everbridge page on our website on the screen here?
we're looking for the dash. You want the login on New Canaan?
Yeah.
Mouse is sloppy tonight, sorry. We got 2 meetings going on at once.
yeah. So the only thing that we have control over is the banner up there, right?
Right.
Correct.
Well, but actually, you're on Everbridge at that point, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Everbridge.net. So it has a consistency of looking like it's, off of our web page.
Yeah, I'm actually going through this right now, guys, going through this exercise for the first time as a user.
So if you go back to the instructions page though. So, we wrote up this basic instruction page and said, go change it, edit your information. And then if you click on that, you go over to the Everbridge landing page, which is basically in a format they use for all their clients, all their municipal clients anyway, right, Chris?
Yes.
It might make sense. It might make sense to add one note here, and that is to encourage the user to add a contact for emergency operations with the phone number, because I used to get the spam on my phone and I would ignore it. And then I figured out afterwards it was a 594 number, and I added emergency operations as a contact.
Yeah, and I'm actually on the second. So I'm going through this exercise the first time, and when I click sign up for notifications, it tells the profile, and then here, I'll share my screen. Because I think what's interesting is very small things can make a big difference. Let me know, can you see my screen?
No.
Not yet.
You
I'm
have to
not sure if you can share a
You
screen.
have to permission Mike to show the screen.
Yeah, it says host disabled participant. That's
Sorry,
what-
I'm on a crash system right now.
Don't worry about it. But essentially it says my profile. It says,
Having a
then it says, here's how to contact me. And in parentheses, it says complete at least one. I bet you if we change that to complete at least 3, you're going to get more contacts. It's simply asking them to complete at least 3. I think you'll get some people saying, well, no, I'm going to drop out completely, which might not be a good thing. But instructing them to complete at least 2, for example, we may end up getting more additional information from them.
Mike, go ahead, Mike. Try to share it. You're
Although in reality,
host.
we want to leave it up to them as to how they want to be contacted. If they just want to give us an email address, fine. If they want to just give us a phone number. And keep in mind, we didn't build from the bottom up. We took a lot of contact information we already had. Like in the case of Constant Contact works if you just put an email address in with no other information. We had, right? And therefore, but Everbridge wouldn't take that because you have to have a name, first name, last name, and a contact information. So we lost some of those, I think, in the loading process. Same thing with Everbridge. Everbridge would work with just a phone number if you didn't have any other contact information. So, what did I say? Not Everbridge, Blackboard, the predecessor. So the good news is we've got a lot of contact information. A lot of people are getting messages, but we really don't know. We know there's dupes in there, and they may want the dupes. I'm in there as a dupe because I have my work email address and my personal email address as two different records. Ideally, I should have them in one record and eliminate the dupe of me. So, but anyway, Mike Abbott mentioned in a prior meeting that there's some magical Google tool which is expensive that maybe we could use.
And that's what, Mike, that's what Mike and Bob have been talking about. So we can jump to that. I just want to, before we go there though,
and Jeff, let me mention one thing. You would think that Everbridge's life is data. You think they'd be able to tell us what the answers are to these questions? Because I said to them when we were doing a training session, I said, "Do you use the U.S. Postal Service address system?" Because at Merrill Lynch, every new account we opened went to the Colorado to go up against the U.S. Postal Service format for address, right? Because people will give you their address a certain way, but that's not how the U.S. Postal Service recognizes it, right? And they said, no, you think an entity as big as Everbridge would kind of use the Postal Service address system as a standard. But anyway.
Before we go to that, because I think the USPS is one thing that Bob and Mike Abbott were talking about as well, so two pieces. One is, we touched on it, was the communication plan to residents, right? And Anna Marie started a nice list. I added to it, and I think others like Tucker Murphy added some. So obviously to go out and get people, hey, go in, sign up your profile, do all of that. To me, there's a little bit of that. The other question is, if to give me an incentive for coming, yes, for emergency purposes, all of that, but if there are more departments that are on the system, when I go in, I could choose more. Okay, great, I want emergency, but I also want, I don't know if police is appropriate, but I want tax, parking, parks and rec.
Actually, Jeff, that's not the purpose of Everbridge. Everbridge is designed to be emergency notifications. The police will use it for certain kinds of emergency notifications.
Right.
DPW, you can use it, but we really don't want to use it as the broad-based communication system. What I want to do is have the master database that right now is in an Excel spreadsheet match up against Everbridge and be able to use that Excel spreadsheet or a Google version of that to be able to be our other town department communication service. Right. So I want it to go, match up with Everbridge. If Everbridge has data that the others don't, right. I want to export it over there.
So are you saying all the other departments, when they're communicating, are they all using Constant Contact?
Yes, Constant Contact is their mode of communication.
Okay, for all of
which makes sense because it's a marketing kind of platform and.
But so marketing, I get. I was thinking alerts like the tax department telling you, taxes are due on June 30th.
But that's how they use Constant Contact for that purpose now.
Okay.
So DPW is the one that really hasn't used either platform. And because Everbridge has the geofencing, it's illogical to have DPW use, so if we want to send out notices about road closures or your road is going to be paved next week. Right now, we go out and deliver by hand notifications to people because we're a high-touch town, right? They expect that. But if we can do that electronically with Everbridge, we plan to, but not the other departments. The other departments are really perfectly happy with their modes of communication, which is kind of like if you come to us and you want to be communicated to by Constant Contact, we put you in the system.
If those are all in Constant Contact, so be it. I thought there were some that were using other modes.
No.
And I thought, well, while you're signing up for the emergency alert, you could sign up for alerts, not, marketing communications, but more alerts. But okay, that's not the approach. So let's switch to the marketing side of it. Like, we've sort of figured out all the different, or at least a large number of different contacts, organizations, so forth in town that we could reach out to try to get more people to go in and set their profile.
What I envision is an email or a message that would go out to say how to use Everbridge how to use Everbridge effectively. And we'd explain to people, if you're getting a phone call only and you want that, fine. If you're getting an email only, but you'd like to have so the priorities in Everbridge are, if you have a real emergency where you want everybody to know about it right away, you want to be able to send it by a phone call, right?
Right.
But like our COVID ones right now, if people, it's not really the kind of thing that's that critical. If we have a missing person, the police department wants to get that message out right away by text messages, by voicemail, and especially if it's a certain part of town. So Everbridge has the capabilities to use priority communication, and you choose how you want to. Am I describing this right, Chris?
All right. I had to step out. Go ahead again. I'm sorry, Kevin.
So
I'm working on something with Steve Banco.
That's okay. So that, and it's not that complicated in terms of what we want to teach the resident. If you want to be able to get text messages, phone messages, or email messages, since you have the ability to confirm you received one, you don't want to get the other messages as well.
Right.
And the way I think Everbridge works is they will send out the text message first. If they have all the if you subscribe for each of those categories, they'll send out the text message. If you confirm that immediately, they won't send the email and they won't send the voicemail. But if you don't confirm it, those other means will go.
Right. Every 3 minutes, it picks a new vehicle if you don't respond.
Yeah. Which is kind of amazing that, it's that interactive way. You confirm it, the others don't come to you.
Right. So back to we need people to go in and set those updated so that they can get more other than whatever we have as default in the system.
Ideally. So it's a communication that would say how to use Everbridge to your benefit.
Right.
We'd explain, if you have the opportunity to give us a phone number, multiple phone numbers, email addresses, multiple email addresses, and then choose the priority in which you'd like to receive things.
Okay. So I think the question is, how do we, do you want to get that message out through multiple different,
I think we do, but we need to, ideally we do it after we do this analysis to figure out how many people we're deficient in, so we could communicate with specific groups and say, we only have a phone number for you. You could receive messages by email as well. So I'd rather do it on a targeted basis rather than trying to educate everybody. Because I know, as Jack Hennessy would say, the seniors want to receive the phone calls. They're not as inclined to get email addresses. So you want to accommodate their desires, but also make sure we're communicating with everybody we can.
Right.
Same thing with one, Bob did his analysis of all our 3,000 seniors. We went and looked and said, these are seniors over 85 years old. We don't have them in Blackboard at all. And they're not going to go in and sign up for Blackboard because you have to do it online. So we went in and enrolled them with their phone number so they would get the phone calls. But and that's the other thing. When you go in and analyze, well, we have a phone number and not an email address. Well, the person's 92 years old. They simply don't use email.
You have very low expectations of the senior popularity.
It works both ways. I mean, I know. Anyway, you're right. These days, you'd be very surprised that anybody would not be able to use email or do something.
But as we get more comfortable with the program, our marketing strategy should be to include Lapham Center when they're running their programs there with the seniors, with others. The library has a vibrant program, a technology program where a couple of young people help, and they have a couple of seminars here and there, training them, and they could actually run a program helping that. We found with the parking permits here, there were some people who just didn't feel comfortable, and they found their way to town hall, and it took 5 minutes to put them online with the parking permit. And these are people with email addresses.
Right. All right, so it sounds like what you're saying is, all right, the marketing is good, we'd like to do it, but let's first get the clean the database, get what we know, and then allow for people to do those proactive efforts to get more people to sign
Yes.
up and do
Yeah.
that. Okay. One last question on that is, Chris or Bob, if either of you know, or Kevin, is if I move into town, I'm a new, just moved in, how do you get my email address? Or not my email address, my phone number? Does it get added to a list? Because now we know that that number is associated with an address in New Canaan. Is there any way to capture new people?
Not in that avenue.
We've talked about that, but we haven't done anything about it yet. For example, there's
Don't forget, sorry. Yep.
there's two ways we could do it. I mean, the welcome wagon lady, whatever, goes out
Right.
and reaches people, and she gets the contact information. We could perhaps work with her, or when people close on a house, you could require that perhaps they give email addresses and but actually, Bob, by going back to refresh the master database, we started with 13,000 some odd hundred registered voters, because name, address, they usually give us a phone number. They don't have to, but they usually do. They don't give you an email address when they register to vote. But through different, that's another thing we have to work on. How do we now make the system self-sustaining, self-updating? Because the people, when they move out of town, they'll tell you, they'll either go in and unsubscribe, or they'll call and they say, take me out of the system. Well, but newcomers are something we have to work on.
Right. Because
in the past, we relied upon just encouraging people, but believe that's not a very reliable system. It's got to be more systematic,
Right.
to capture something when they're coming in and they're beginning to engage, and we want to voter registration is one way. You pick them up as a new resident, and then you realize you have a gap. You have no contact information. Well, go out and find that contact information somehow.
Okay.
And even the voter registration, it's not the first thing on someone's mind when they move into town.
Right.
It's as active as it gets right now, this time of the year. But typically someone will move in and, there's an election in a year. I'll do that 10, 11 months later, which is almost too late. We also have more people that are renting in town. So it could be something as simple as a card that's given when they sign their lease, how to enroll, how to get active in the town and communicate.
Right.
Yeah, keep in mind too, I mean, we have commuter parking permits, we have the wait list for the parking, we have different ways we continue to capture this new people coming in and add it to the master database, and then move it into Everbridge when it goes in the master database.
Chris, was there one, when we talked to, now I don't remember which vendor, they had said, for a fee, and it wasn't cheap. It was like $7,000 or something. They'd give you the new list. They would give you a total new list of phone numbers that are matched to your zip code.
Yeah, it was Everbridge. They all would do it. Everbridge was $5,000. And the problem was that, we were going to see if there were different ways. If they could do it, why couldn't we? And I got to be honest, I've been, with everything going on, I haven't even looked at that. But they did come back and say, and it makes a lot of sense. Now we're seeing the list that's in there. If it's by phone number, you guys have a lot of residents with New York numbers that aren't even close to being in the 860 area code.
Well, but those are cell phone numbers, 917. I mean, a lot of people.
Right, but you don't have anybody registering for 966 anymore. You get 594s if you get them off the cable modems, and that's just
966 and 972 are all used up.
Yeah, so that's why you're getting the 594s.
Right, but they can tell not by the exchange, but by where it's registered to, like all the voice over IP numbers, right? So those are,
Yeah, you're going to get, but again, then again, it's the quality of the list. That's what happened with Blackboard, and Blackboard was a mess. So, I'm not saying it's not better technology right now. I'm just, is it something that let's try to market and clean up, or do we want to go spend $5,000 on this?
Well, keep in mind,
The other thing is you don't want to, you don't want to contact someone out of Clear Blue, because that's just a customer service issue. People are getting enough calls and contacts. With the transfer station permits, we asked the question, would you like to receive text messages? Holiday week, they're changing the hours, etc. 47% of the people don't want a text message.
Right.
They don't want it.
Okay, but I maintain that if you get a call from the town of New Canaan on an emergency, most people are not going to regard that as something they don't want to hear. That's why to me the standard is, if we can find contact information, we'll use it, because it's very unlikely someone's going to get this is an emergency message of the town of New Canaan. It's very unlikely people are going to complain about that.
Right. And some will, but it's in a small number.
Very few. Very few. And
all right, I wanted to switch to the database project that Bob's been leading. But before I go there, any other questions, thoughts, anything around Everbridge and the OHAL system?
We'll get you the latest information next week. We'll make sure everybody's on the email with it. And to Mike's point, we're going to try to get as much data as possible. And we'll go from there. You guys can handle the marketing, find out how we're going to do a better job.
It is a pleasure. It is a pleasure to get Kevin's notice without him starting all over again every time.
Oh yeah,
like the old Blackboard was.
I thought he had a stutter for a while.
it's amazing they couldn't fix that.
Yeah, that's a very bizarre. But anyway, I think the system, for all the reasons we know, you know, as Mike said, and we have it as well, is they're using by other corporations and so forth. So Everbridge has really got a lot of capabilities out there. So we're, you know.
Plus it also interfaces, one thing we didn't talk about, it does interface with Facebook and Twitter and stuff. And we've got, that's another aspect of it we have to begin to use.
Right, the state of Connecticut uses it, Pinellas County, Florida, the state of Florida uses it. So it's a very large system.
And Kevin, you mentioned they do not have an entity resolution service at Everbridge, where they could come back to us and say, I just deduped your whole list for you.
Well, again, I don't think really we've gotten great service yet from, you know, they launched us. We've had 2 training sessions. I think they have the capabilities. We just haven't been able to access.
Yeah, I think it would be for a fee. Usually they are for a fee. I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, actually, Mike, Chris, our service contact there, support, like Kevin said, he went out the first week. It was kind of, we pushed to go and he was already scheduled to leave, and but they do offer that. They have tried to do it as best as possible.
Okay.
So but then we also brought over 5 different lists to them at the same time.
Right.
So now we've got to go back and really start to work on the data and clean it up again. And it's going to be an ongoing thing for at least a year or so.
Yep.
I'm not unhappy in terms of, you know, since we added more data, we're communicating, I believe, with more people, especially because of the Board of Ed list, which we didn't have before. But we still don't know of the 6,800 households, how many are we missing?
Right.
And so.
To Anna Maria's point, let's just put it on the Facebooks and the Canaan Moms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell them it's legit. I don't know how many members, but I know it's a large list. I know everybody talks about it.
Yeah, that whole marketing list we put together, which was there, you know, there's tons of sources, but I think to Kevin's point, let's work on get the data, cleaning up the data, and then so we know when we go out to everybody, you know, we have the right data in there.
I think we could go out more smartly and target people. We have an email address for you. We don't have a phone number.
Yeah.
Would you want to add a phone number? Or we have a phone number, but no email address, you know.
Yeah, very, very directed message, very specific message.
Targeted.
Yes, right.
Yeah. All right, so let's switch to Bob around the consolidated database project. If you give us an update, how are you progressing?
Well, we've been focused right now on the transfer station passes, which we automated this year instead of people going down to the transfer station and show their pieces of paper. That's gone quite well. It's not the smoothest system in the world. We're using the RecTrack program, but we've got 1,300 people signed up, and that's got fresh information, name, address, email, phone number. Only a small handful didn't have email, and we're really moving forward on that. So that's been very helpful. Now we'll have this, and every day we put it on our Excel sheet, and we're keeping that accurate and clean as possible. We're auditing it, making sure all the data is there. Next year, we'll probably move to the parking department, which is more closely aligned with the type
Next
of.
month, Bob, not next year, next month.
Well, we're about done with this year with selling our passes. Well,
No, I know, but we're gonna start the parking permit process next month.
yeah. And their program is smoother, and we may be able to move in on with that one, which would be a lot better. We were very active and helpful, I think, with the senior project that we did in January and February was very helpful this late spring and summer with the senior citizen contact with all the problems we've had with COVID, with the shopping and all the other information. And we've gone out and shared that list with the Human Services Department a couple of times where they've been able to use it. The important thing is, and then also with our sewer usage fee, which is on an Excel spreadsheet. The hardest part has been trying to merge all this information together and tie it into residential addresses. And that's what I've been talking with Mike about. And he's talking about this Python program, which he'll give me a little more information when we have a chance to sit down and talk. But between the primary that we had in August, between the switch to Everbridge, and between the power outages, we were a little bit swamped with parking information.
You know, I just had a thought, Bob, that I hadn't had before. But remember, I would go back to the U.S. Postal Service.
Yeah.
The U.S. Postal Service has a service where, you know, they know every mailing address in New Canaan, and they maintain it. You know, they keep it up. So I think we've got it, and we can go to that as our way of getting all of our residential addresses.
And Bob, I can connect with Mike or you, but that when I'm talking about entity resolution, I think I'm talking about exactly what he's talking about, which is there's a code that you can run that looks literally at every digit, every character, and then matches across databases or spreadsheets to resolve to one row of information, if you will.
That would be incredibly helpful.
Yeah, we do this all the time. Credit bureaus, for example, Kevin is another great example.
Right.
Credit bureaus get tons of bad information about one person, but their job is to dedupe it to a single credit record, right?
I mean, our universe is not that big. I mean, we have less than 7,000.
Exactly.
Residents. It's not a huge universe. So we need a tool so we don't have to do it manually.
That's right. And the great thing is once you do it once, and this is why the Postal Service can do it. Once you do it once, you're now adding to it. You're subtracting to it.
Right.
The incremental work is that much smaller.
I've been doing this very clunky I use the assessor's database with addresses and the ownership of property. And then I start trying to match things up, trying to align them by hand.
Yeah. The problem with that is we have people that own property in town. They don't live here, right? They're landlord. We have people that rent in town.
Yeah.
So you got to look at the postal address that people are receiving mail from.
Yeah, you're right.
That's the person, that's the human being we want to talk to, whether they own the house or rent the house or so.
And especially since we're getting more and more apartments in town too.
Right. And if you shop online and you go onto a website and you type in your address and they say, oh, you put in this, but here's the USPS recommended, and it's
Right.
it's the same address, but it may have the zip +4, and it's supposed to I'm on a lane, it does LN, it knows all the different permutations you do. So leveraging databases like that can solve for the someone spelling St. John's with ST or ST period. It knows. So those types of databases can help there too.
Yeah.
And then we couldn't do the drop down boxes for what we did with the parking permits. So we actually every morning just clean that data up. So we've got we've got the right address. It's amazing the amount the people in this town who don't even know how to spell their street name right.
Right.
Hawks Hill Road with the apostrophe S.
That's why the U.S. Postal Service database is what we have to use.
Right.
That's the gold standard. They make sure the mail gets to you. And then you have problems with somebody tears down a house and they change the address. Those things happen. So
Right.
anyway,
all right. So Bob, it sounds like you had an initial conversation with Mike Abbott.
Yeah.
And are you the two of you following up?
We will be following up back and forth together. Kevin and I had a discussion about exactly what we're trying to accomplish and the database, how we want it to look and all. And then we'll be back with Mike and I guess new Mike.
And I was just going to say, Mike Bopp, if you're willing to sit and give your thoughts on that, that could be tremendous.
Sure, happy to.
Yeah, he'll be my new best friend.
In fact, one of the roles I have to do now because we have about 350,000 different merchants that we have to dedupe that have our services. So those programs take days to run. To your point, Kevin, they should take a couple hours to run if we get it right.
Yeah, we don't have a big universe,
Right.
but it's a big universe if you try to do it by hand.
Yes.
We don't have a big universe, but we have a very fussy universe.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions on that?
And then I'm meeting with Chris Monday or Tuesday. We're going to talk more about Everbridge because I really need to get immersed into that so that I can also help other people here get the maximum power out of Everbridge.
Okay. Sounds good.
So I'll be his student.
All right. So those were the key agenda items. Just last thing is any other new business? Anything else anyone else wanted to bring up? Topics, thoughts?
Bring something new to the table. something else.
Well, I mean, we've got a lot of good stuff going on right now, but yeah, if there's something else, let's discuss it.
Thank you. Yeah, this is a great sounding board for us to be able to.
Well, good. Let us know if there's other areas that we can support as well. We're happy to do it.
We have a website meeting tomorrow morning, Paul.
Tomorrow morning.
Don't we? 10 o'clock?
It's on my calendar.
Didn't get the email.
All right.
No, it's not tomorrow morning. When is it? I looked at that earlier today and saw it tomorrow morning. Anyway, we have it coming up.
Okay. So with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
Thank you all. Good to see you.
Okay.
Be well.
All right. Second?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Yes. Seconds. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.